Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching OneMindSyndicate. Today we continue talking about the Primarchs as we get into the origins of the future trader Primarch Fulgrim. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. If you have any suggestions, please comment down below. And if you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. It's because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. The support just helps us create more videos for you guys. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the origins of Fulgrim. Like all of the Primarchs, Fulgrim was teleported away from Terra while still an infant due to the schemes of the Chaos Gods, who hoped to prevent the coming of the Age of the Imperium. Fulgrim's gestation capsule came to rest on a resource-poor mining world known as Chemos. The world of Chemos was in the Ultima Segmentum's Aquitine sector, and it was originally settled by human colonists before the Age of Strife. When warp travel became impossible due to the numerous warp storms that cut off the human-settled world from one another, it forced these isolated worlds to fend for themselves without the support of their human-settled neighbors in other star systems. An ancient surviving text from that time, known as the Librum Ex Dominar, tells that Chemos was one such world, an industrious mining colony dependent on interstellar trade for food. The planet's rulers made every effort to extract enough raw food from the harsh environment to feed their people, but Chemos was a world dying a slow death. During its isolation, the archivist of Chemos recorded a picture of a bleak, unforgiving world, warmed by two small, distant suns and surrounded by a nebular dust cloud. It experienced neither day nor night, only a perpetual gray twilight in which the stars never shone. Settled long ago as a mining colony, the cities, outposts, mining centers, and towns of Chemos had fallen into decay since the isolation from Terra. Without resources from other worlds to sustain its people, trade with other worlds ended, thousands starved, cities were abandoned, and eventually it fell down to a few hardy fortress factories to keep humanity alive on Chemos. Short of food, water, and energy, the people of the planet were forced to limit themselves to the meager supplies available. All citizens worked every waking hour, operating the vapor mines that drew moisture from the thin air, and the huge synthesizers that endlessly recycled food, turning yesterday's waste into today's substance. When not working, the inhabitants of the factory fortresses would march through the ruins of once great industrial cities, searching for building material, technology, and the ruins of spaceships to strip of useful parts. Recreation, art, and leisure were sacrificed in order to ensure survival, and efficiency became the value adhered to. This all changed when one day the guards on the crumbling walls of Calax, the largest remaining factory fortress, saw a meteor descend from the clouds, trailing fire across the skies before impacting into the rocky, dusty ground barely a mile from the fortress walls. Though little manpower could be spared, the ruling executive of Calax sent a handful of scouts to investigate the impact site, hoping for evidence of human survivors on other worlds. What they found became legend. Tulea, Corin, and Sulax were laborers that were sent to investigate the meteor impact. Sent without transport, the three had to take shelter from a wirestorm in an abandoned factory. When they reached the impact site, they didn't find a fallen satellite or a spacecraft. They found an ever-shifting mass of light. Sulax was wary, but Corin felt that it was harmless. Corin watched the light take shape, and it touched his mind, learning everything he did before it took the shape of a perfectly formed baby boy. Orphans were normally put to death on Chemos. The executive spared no resources to look after those who were unable to return their investment by working in the factory fortresses. But the captain of the scouts looked into the eyes of the child and saw something more than human. In defiance of tradition, the captain of the scout appealed to the executive. Because of his value to Calax, the captain was allowed to adopt the infant as his own. He named his adopted son after an old legend long since discarded by the people of Chemos, the mythical god of creation, Fulgrim. The child named after this legend soon created a legend of his own, one that would become known to all the people of the world. Fulgrim grew unnaturally fast, becoming a strong, capable man. At half the age of his fellow workers, he was able to fulfill his obligations to the executive, working for days without rest. Not only was he physically proficient, he quickly grew to understand the technology of the machines he worked with, and began to contemplate their improvement. By the 15th anniversary of his fall from the sky, Fulgrim had risen from the ranks of the workers, first becoming an engineer, then one of the executives itself. Learning of the slow deterioration in Calax and the other remaining settlements of Chemos, Fulgrim set himself the task of saving his world and changing it from a dying ex-mining planet into the center of art and wealth it became under Imperial rule. One by one, he convinced his fellow members of the executive board to fight against entropy that was destroying the planet. Under Fulgrim's leadership, teams of engineers traveled far from the factory fortresses, reclaiming and repopulating long-dead outposts, mining centers, and fortresses in the planet's most inaccessible regions. The ancient mines were reopened and expanded, bringing more and more minerals into Calax and allowing the construction of more sophisticated machines. Recycling effectively grew until at last Calax was producing more than it consumed. Seeing his people prosper, Fulgrim took pride in fostering the reemergence of art and culture, reclaiming the spirit of humanity that had been sacrificed so long ago in the struggle for survival. Terraforming technology was reinvented, allowing forests, oceans, plains, and rainforests to spread and reclaim outposts and bring life to the planet. As Calax grew, the other settlements began to ally themselves with Fulgrim and help him rebuild and repopulate the long-abandoned cities of the planet. Using building material mined out of the reopened mines, ancient buildings were patched up and reconstructed, even as towers and skyscrapers rose over the ground. 50 standard years after Fulgrim fell from the sky, he rose to sole rulership of Chemos. His beautiful forests were planted on ground once mined for metal, and wondrous cities of glass, gold, crystal, and steel rose to new heights of glory. Fulgrim's presence drove a resurgence of craft, art, and intellectual refinement, and through dint of his intellect and achievements, he halted the backsliding of his hard-scrabbled world and set it upon a path, if not to greatness, then at least to a betterment of its lot. Metropolises built over rocky plains and forests grown on stony ground. This impulse to strive for something better would allow the people of Chemos to attain something akin to great heights, and the changing of Chemos into a world of art and culture inspired Fulgrim the will to grasp even more greatness. It was not long after this that the planet's isolation came to an end. From the blue skies came a flight of dropships, armored and battle-scarred, each bearing the same symbol, a two-headed eagle. On hearing of this, some fragments of memory stirred in Fulgrim. Chemos had no formal army, but the dropships' landing zones had been surrounded by the caretakers, the police soldiers once responsible for maintaining order in the factory fortresses. Fulgrim sent word to the caretakers to stand down and allow the visitors from above into Calax. And those were 40 facts on the origins of Fulgrim. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, thank our patrons on Patreon. It's because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. It's $1 a month. It goes a long way, so thank you ahead of time if you guys support us with that contribution. If you can't, we understand. Simply by liking, commenting, sharing these videos, it helps out the channel tremendously. So thank you ahead of time for that as well. Fulgrim is an awesome trader Primarch, just because his demon form is amazing. If you guys haven't checked out the 40 facts on how each Primarch turned into a demon, check it out. The description of Fulgrim is really badass, and hopefully he will be the next trader Primarch to come out, but who knows. It's a quick story. Most of these Primarchs have quick origin stories. The planet really kind of it usually tends to be shit, and then the Primarch makes it better in whatever special way that Primarch is. So like in this situation, Fulgrim is supposed to represent the Emperor's connection to like glamour and making things perfect. So Fulgrim did that to his planet. But yeah, if you The reason that I chose Fulgrim is because it was a suggestion from last Origin video. So what I need from you today is please comment down below. Let me know which Loyalist Primarch you guys would like to hear the origin story of. We've done Gilliman before, so please, what other Loyalist Primarch would you like to hear about? So I will talk to you guys in the comment section below, and thanks for everything. I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gershwin with OneMindSyndicate signing out.